Right, and so now I'm going to start the presentation.
Ahora voy a empezar la presentación.
First, we're going to start by
Primero,
setting up interpretation on Zoom.
vamos a poner la interpretación en Zoom.
So first, I'm going to ask folks to please mute themselves if they aren't speaking.
Por favor, si no están hablando, les voy a pedir el favor que se pongan en silenciador.
And in a moment, I'm going to enable language interpretation, in which case a globe icon will appear at the bottom of your screen if you are on a desktop.
Si están en una computadora, en un momento, cuando yo les dé el visto bueno para seguir adelante, les voy a permitir que entren a la sección de interpretación y cuando eso suceda, va a aparecer el globo terráqueo abajo en la parte inferior derecha.
After clicking on the globe icon, you will click the language that you like to hear.
Y una vez vean el globo, le hagan el clic, ya pueden escoger el idioma que prefieran.
You will also have the option to mute the original audio so you hear the interpreted language only.
Y también puede silenciar el audio para que pueda escuchar solamente el idioma que prefirió.
If you are joining from a computer or tablet, you will have to find the 3 dots that say more.
Si está en la computadora o en una tableta, va a tener que escoger entre esos 3 puntos abajo y después hace el clic en la palabra more, M-O-R-E.
And you will follow the same instructions to tap the language you want to hear.
De la misma manera, va a seleccionar el idioma que prefiere escuchar.
But the extra addition on a laptop or on a tablet or phone is that you will have to press done after selecting the language you want to hear.
Y una parte muy importante, así sea en la computadora, en el teléfono o en la tableta, debe por favor oprimir la palabra done.
Perfect. And with that, I will enable language interpretation unless anyone has questions right now.
A no ser de que alguien tenga una pregunta, ya en este momento voy a habilitar la opción de interpretación. ¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta?
Okay.
¿Listos?
I will go ahead and assign our interpreters right now.
Ya voy a asignar los intérpretes.
And so go ahead and select the language you want to hear now.
Ya puede escoger el idioma que prefiere escuchar.
Okay, can folks in the English channel hear me? Once you're in your selected channel, please send me a reaction or just a wave or thumbs up. Perfect. I see Tomasita, Aria, Carol, Cora, Anna. Oh, Carol, I see your cat. Oh, you're muted. Did you manage to set up language interpretation? Oh, perfect. Great. Flor, are you good on language interpretation?
Sí, perfecto, lo oigo.
Perfect. Amazing. Maria is joining us. I'll wait for her to connect to audio. Hi, Maria. We're just setting up language interpretation now. So go ahead and click the globe icon if you're joining from a laptop or a computer and select the language you want to hear. Hola, Lupita.
Hi.
We're setting
I'm
up.
sorry, Bisma. I couldn't make it again directly. Something I'm doing wrong. I'm sorry I'm late again, but here I am.
We'll figure it out. Right now we're setting up language interpretation.
Yes.
All right. Hi, Constance. Thank you for joining us. We're setting up language interpretation right now. So please click on the globe icon at the bottom of the screen and select the language you would like to hear. Okay. So now we're going to start with our principles of language justice. This is open and equal communication for all. It is a shared responsibility, just like disability access. Everyone has just had to set up language interpretation on Zoom. So make sure you click on the globe icon and click the language you would like to hear. And we would also like for you to please state your name every time before you speak. Some tips for all of us to keep in mind is to please speak slowly and clearly. And I will ask if you are not speaking to please mute yourself to reduce echo and feedback right now. Please think about the key points you want to make and keep it brief so you can take your time. Please do not use acronyms, abbreviations, or any jargon. Please stick to just one language. Even if you might know multiple, for the sake of Zoom interpretation, please use only one. Next, we're just going to review our community guidelines that we set at the beginning of class, and so I will read them out loud. No bigotry, hate, or slander will be tolerated. Assume positive intent. All truth is truth. Take space, make space. The Vegas rule. So what is said here stays here, but what is learned here leaves here. Each one, reach one, teach one. Ask permission to inquire after a share. Practice self and community care. One mic, one voice. So if one person is speaking, please pause and let them finish their thought. Correct with care. Don't assume knowledge. If you use academic terms, please explain them. And appreciate cultures through community. And I will pause to see if there's any other additions folks want to make to our community guidelines. Great, seeing there are none, we'll keep going. Wait, I think I accidentally skipped the land acknowledgement slide, but I will briefly allow us to all reflect on and acknowledge the native lands that we occupy. So if you're calling from the San Francisco area, that is Ramaytush Ohlone territory. If you're calling in from the East Bay, that is Ramaytush, or it is Chochenyo Ohlone territory and Listjahn territory. And the reason why we want to start with land acknowledgements during class is to recognize that colonial histories are present and in the now. And in order to disrupt systems of white supremacy, we need to consciously make a community effort to center nativeness in our work. And so there was a guide attached that would allow you to find the native lands that you are occupying, as well as an offering to give Shumi land tax to the native women who are upholding the legacy of their culture. But I apologize for missing that slide for the slide deck, but I will send that information at the end of the week as well. But just as a brief overview on the different things we will be covering today, we'll have a brief check-in. We just did our community guidelines. We're going to be talking about what are hashtags and why are they important in organizing. We're going to hear from a community partner today, so Anti-Police Terror Project. We have Luce with us here again, who's going to talk to us a little bit about why they use Twitter and what they use it for. And then afterwards, we'll run through different terms that you should be familiar with on Twitter, how to create an account, how to create a tweet. And we're going to talk at the end of on Wednesday, how to generate Twitter storms, which is a huge influence on how social media travels. So first, we're going to do a small check-in question. I apologize. We're going to cut some of the time that we had for check-in questions because of my doorbell debacle. But the question that I would like to ask everybody is, if you could reincarnate to an animal in your next life, what animal would you be and why? So I'll stop my screen share and see if anybody wants to tell us who their spirit animal is. Cora, I see your hands up. Oh, you're muted.
I would say bird, because they seem to have much more freedom and less worries. Thank you.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And Lupita, I see your hands up.
I would like to be a combination of a horse and an eagle, if I could, because I would like to be a bird too, but a horse, you know, can run everywhere. So yeah, I suppose I have a hunger for freedom too. Either one. An eagle, that'll be nice, an eagle.
I love that. Would anyone else like to share what's their spirit animal, or what they would like to reincarnate into if they had to choose?
This is Maureen. I think I'd like to be a whale because I love swimming underwater. But I would also want to be an animal where the humans can't get to you. You know what I mean? It's like where you would really feel that you have freedom and not be attacked by poisons or something. You know what I mean? It's like, I'll live in a healthy environment. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Love that. And I see Aria and Angel, your hands went up, so we'll go in that order.
I wanna I'll be ox. Like I wanna like watch the ox to like a circus or something.
Thank you for that. And Aria?
I think I'd like to be a cat because cats are more of a homebody. I'm a homebody person.
Yeah. And I'll share that Anna in the chat wrote koala bear and lizard, a view and close to the earth. I love that. And I see Maya and Carol, your hands are up, so we'll go in that order.
I love lots of animals, but hummingbirds. I've heard some wonderful stories. My name, Maya, means the hummingbird of the Philippine national bird. And every time hummingbirds come around, I feel like magic is afoot and something, you know, the sacred is present. So I'd love to be a hummingbird.
I'm Carol, and I'd like to be a red-tailed hawk because they're fast.
That's so cool. And let's see, we just had Dichi join us. Dichi, we're going around and sharing our answers to the check-in question. If you could reincarnate into another animal in your next lifetime, what would it be? Or what is your spirit animal? I'll give you some time to think. Dorothy, do you want to answer?
Parrot.
Oh, that was so quick. Why?
Well, at least I can talk. Learn to speak.
And I see I wrote eagle.
Yeah.
We've got some chasers for eagles right now, joining Lupita's circle. What about you, Ellen?
Well, people to say I was a bobcat, but that seems kind of mean, you know. So I don't know. I think I like there's some kind of animal that like lives in colonies, and they like prairie dogs or something, where they, you know, there's watchdogs and they're looking out and they give warnings, look out, danger, and they you know, they take care of each other. Sounds good to me.
Let's see, Flor, would you like to share what animal you'd like to be?
Pues a mí me llaman la atención los
I would
búhos. No, no
love
sé,
to be
verlos,
an owl.
es
No.
muy extraño animal.
It's a very weird animal.
I love that.
Me gusta mucho.
Let's see, Maria, would you like to share? Let's see, there's Maria, Tomasita, Constance, Dichi. Would any of you like to share?
I just want to say that bua means owl, right, Flor? Right? So she admires the owl.
Yes,
and
that's
Lions have predators.
The owl medicine.
According to Maryland Zoo, lions have few predators to fear other than humans. A very young or sickly lion.
The owls are the eagles of the night, and cultures, people like are afraid of the owl. The owl comes and gives a warning. Someone's going to pass the spirit world, but that's what my teacher said, that the owls are the eagles of the night because they well, first of all, they can see in the nighttime, but also that they're not to be feared, they're to be loved, because they come and warn people that that someone in the family is going to go to the spirit world, and so it gives the person a chance to set all their affairs in order, to say their goodbyes, bless their relatives, you know, to wrap things up. And so they're actually a blessing. You know, they're a blessing bird, just like the eagle, with the wisdom and the foresight that flies so high and can see so far.
Yeah, thank you, Tomasita. All right, well, I'm gonna cut this part a little bit shorter because I did take some time in the beginning with my doorbell, but I think my answer to this question, it's between cats, because I feel like I have a lot of cat-like things in my personality, but also I really like honey badgers. They're so fierce. Like they're like vicious animals, and they're on top of the food chain too, so no one gets them, but they move so quickly through the prairie. So I think honey badger would be for me too. But thank you everybody for participating in that short icebreaker. And now I'm going to go back to my slides so that we can talk a little bit about hashtags. Okay. So what are hashtags? Hashtags, when you think about it, is just a catchphrase of some sort followed by, or a pound sign followed by a catchphrase. So the example that I will give you is the hashtag free Wi-Fi, which is the hashtag we use for our free Wi-Fi campaign. So people use hashtags to increase their engagement and build a supportive base. So the reason why hashtags are so important in organizing is that by searching for a particular hashtag, you're able to search at the history of all of the different accounts that used that specific phrase in their organizing work. So some tips is that a hashtag must be relevant to what people are searching for, or easy enough to create internet traffic. So that's why it's typically very short phrases that don't take many characters, so that people can remember what they are and can keep using it. So an example would be hashtag CryptoVote, which is really easy to remember and reminds you that this is something about voting and voting by disabled folks. Hashtags are mostly used on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. and can be created to generate action and organizing power to connect people to similar interests. So some examples are hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag travel, things that can either generate power or are long withstanding and people can go to it for any hobby that they have, like travel. Why is hashtags important? So in today's world of social media, users can quickly get bogged down by information overload. There's just so much data constantly on our feeds for social media. Hashtags make it easy to cut through the different digital clutter and focus only on the information that you want. And so this is a little funny comic strip with two cavemen, one of them who's clearly carved out an antler or a deer of some sort and put that pound symbol in front of it. And then the tag is, the guy is saying, is that a hashtag? And then the guy's response is, gotta stay relevant, man. To just give you a sense of like, it's a way to cut through all of the stories, the clutter, the information to find what you care about. Are there any questions specifically on hashtags? Hashtags will become incredibly important as we learn more about Twitter and Instagram, because Twitter's entire Explore page is built on the hashtag. So you'll see why it's relevant there, but I just wanted to get a definition out for us. All right.
Who can this is Tomasita, who can see it? You said it cuts through the clutter. Like suppose you're on Facebook and you post something and then you post something with a hashtag. Does that mean that everybody on Facebook can see your hashtag and then come to your site?
So it depends on your privacy settings, but say you're a public Facebook account and you decide to use a hashtag, then anybody who wants to search that hashtag might see your post that you made about it. So it's a way to get people talking basically on a similar thread. That's what the hashtag kind of establishes, a link between different posts and a common theme among it. So hashtags are really easy because you could follow a hashtag and see what people are saying or talking about it.
Thank you.
And Lupita?
Yeah, mine was probably around the same, because I've noticed people that, let's say, put a picture of their pet, right? And they put my something like my favorite pet, this is my guy, this is my, and hashtag, but lots of hashtags, like 5 or 6. So now with the explanation you gave us, so I understand that probably a lot of people are going to see, if they really love their pets, or their dogs or cats, they're going to see probably this in there without not even being friends, right? Is that the...
Yeah, that's part of it. And so there's actually like a balancing act that goes with hashtags. So part of it is that you want to use enough hashtags so that anyone can search something related to pets or animals and they would come up with the photo. However, if you use too many hashtags, your post might be flagged as scam by Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. So it's good to use, probably I would say the range is either 1 to 7 about in terms of a post. Anything more than that, Facebook or Instagram or Twitter might say, oh, they're trying to beat the algorithm and they're trying too hard. And so they might try to dock your post and it might not reach a good audience. And it's also important because hashtags, certain of them stay relevant. So like hashtag health, hashtag Twitter or something of that will always remain relevant, but some of them will only be active and good for a day or 2. And we'll talk a little bit about the differences between that, but that's how you make Twitter storms. So we'll get into a little bit more of why hashtags matter so much. But yeah, just wanted to get our understanding of what that term means together.
Does that mean when you do a hashtag, are you,
never mind. I'm sorry, my phone is interrupting.
No worries. You can ask your question once you're free. Oh, it's okay. Okay. In which case, I am going to actually turn it over to our community presenter, Luz. If you're ready.
Yeah, I just sent you the slides. I don't know if you got them.
Was it through chat or through email?
Through email, but I can also chat it to you.
Yeah, it would be great if you could chat. Thank you. Great. And so I'll turn it over to Luz after I start sharing their presentation.
All right. Well, I already presented last Monday on Facebook. And so I'm gonna do a quick run through on Instagram today and how APTP uses that. And so I already went through this before, so I won't read the whole thing, but the Anti-Police Terror Project was formed after the murder of Oscar Grant. And so, yeah, we've been around for around 10 years. We're a Black-led, multiracial, intergenerational coalition that seeks to eradicate police terror. We support families in a number of ways who have survived police terror. And we also operate MH First. MH First is APTP's first, or Oakland's first non-police alternative to crisis, if you haven't heard of it. We are Black-led, like I said, and so I'm a volunteer and I meet regularly with Black leadership to make decisions about our social media. One of our biggest campaigns is to defund the Oakland Police Department. And we were the first organization to make that call in 2016. And so, yeah, I already covered this in the last time, but just wanted to quickly introduce who we were before jumping into our Instagram. So yeah, APTP, that's what we call ourselves for short, has a number of different digital tools that we use for mass communications. And so, yeah, I'm the co-lead of the APTP Comms Committee. Comms is short for communications. And we have nearly 45,000 followers on Instagram. So actually Instagram is where we have maybe our largest reach. And yeah, we also have Facebook, mass email, Twitter. We have our website, and then we use action networks for RSVP forms, etc. But today we're just going to talk about Instagram. And yeah, even though we have our biggest list on Instagram, we still get most of our actual action takers on email. So if we want people to come to an event, etc., they'll come on email. And you might, so yeah, I think it's really important to regularly post on Instagram to get your message out there. But you know, it's always important to cross-post across different channels, like with anything, if you want to get your message out there. And then you might wonder, how did we get so many followers on Instagram? We have almost 45,000 followers, and that's huge. But really, a lot of that came last year during was it last year? Yeah, it was last year, during the uprising in the summer of 2020. It was obviously not the best of circumstances. George Floyd was killed by police, and that sparked an uprising across the country. And in Oakland, we seized that moment and helped people in Oakland know of ways to take meaningful action. On the screen, you have a number of screenshots from our Instagram page of all the posts. And this is only some of them that we made during the uprising. And this is not even all of it. We were super, super busy. Some of the things we mobilized around was city council, because they were in the middle of a budget process. And so we were mobilizing people to go to city council and ask them to defund OPD and refund the community. We also did a massive direct action called Fuck Your Curfew, because basically during the uprising, there was a curfew put in place that essentially would criminalize any protest. And so we had thousands and thousands and thousands of people do a direct action with us in downtown Oakland. We also boosted efforts led by the Black Organizing Project to get OPD out of our schools, which was a campaign that was won. And we supported families of people who were killed by police around the time of the protests, like Sean Monterosa and Eric Salgado. And then on top of all of this, we also did bail support for protesters, which also got widely shared on social media. And so there was a lot going on. And so it wasn't hard for us to make ourselves seen during that time on Instagram.
Sorry to interrupt. What are Bell supporters?
Sorry, maybe y'all misheard me. Did someone ask that?
Yeah, I asked for what sort of supporters were you talking about?
I'm on one part, sorry.
Was it Bell supporters or the supporters that you got? Sorry, I might have misheard, but.
No, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not sure which part you're asking about.
No worries. Maybe it'll come up later and then I'll ask again. Okay.
No, yeah, I think you must have misheard me. Sorry, I'll be more clear moving forward.
No worries. Thank you.
But yeah, that's just an example of a moment where we saw a lot of engagement on Instagram. And so in your work, keeping track of what's going on in the media, it might not be a huge uprising like this, but any moment that you can use to your advantage to give your message is really critical. So you could go to the next slide. So yeah, the different ways that we use Instagram is by posting on our main feed. And so in the photo that you see on the right side, this is a screenshot of our Instagram feed. And so when anyone goes to our page on Instagram, the first thing they'll see is like our bio and then the feed when they scroll down. And you could click into all of these to see the full caption and everything about them. Oh, you can't, but if you were on Instagram. And then some of the examples of things we post on Instagram are event flyers, memes, screenshots of news articles, screenshots of tweets, photos taken at in-person events, infographics, advertising our MH First hotline, screenshots of GoFundMe pages, videos, GIFs. But just one note on GIFs, they have to be posted as videos. And then there's a lot more that you could share on Instagram. But just one note, sometimes less is more. So like we have a lot of beautiful graphics that our graphics teams put together. And GIFs are just like a number of photos that like pop up as like a series, like it basically loops through a number of photos. And so on your computer, you can like save GIFs as a GIF file. But on Instagram, you would have to convert that to a video. So that might be a little bit like more advanced, but just so y'all know in the future. So yeah, I think, what was I saying before that? Let me look at my notes really quick. And I think that's it for this slide. I think we can go to the next one. Oh, I think one, just tips on posting on the feed. One that I didn't put on here was sometimes less is more. So like our graphics teams makes beautiful graphics, but sometimes a screenshot of a news article performs a lot better and takes a lot less time to create. Also, if you just don't have capacity or time to make a beautiful graphic, like maybe just get someone in your organization or your organization to make a tweet and screenshot that. So sometimes you just kind of gotta think on your feet and use what's readily available. But people do like to see pretty things on Instagram, so we try to give them a mix of different things.
Is there any reason why you would prefer to use Instagram to any other social media?
Just because you're gonna get a different audience on Instagram than you will on like Facebook or Twitter. So we use all of the different social media platforms, or probably not all of them, but like the main ones, which are Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, because we want to make sure that we're getting the largest reach. And for us, we have the biggest following on Instagram, so it is helpful for us to get our word out there. So yeah, some tips on posting to the feed. And I just got an internet connection unstable message, so hopefully everything's fine. Cool. Just some notes. So for the captions on Instagram posts on your feed, you can't put links. That makes it a little hard to share a call to action on Instagram, but you can use the bio to share your link in the bio. You can also set up a link tree, which I won't go too much into, but it's basically a link you could link to in your bio that has a list of different actions that you want people to take. So if you see on the photo on the right-hand side, there's an arrow pointing to our link tree in our bio. And then underneath that, there's a screenshot of our link tree, which has different links. So this is only some of the links that are on our link tree. Another way to share links, if you have a bigger account, they give you more permissions. So like the more followers you get on Instagram, the more permissions you have to do cool things. So one of the permissions we have is sharing links on our stories. I'm not sure if it's changed, but I know that in the past it's only been for bigger accounts of at least like 10,000. But Bisma, maybe you know something different.
It's up to actually 25,000 or something of that sort now.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, so definitely bio and link trees are maybe your best bet. And then some other tips, when you're posting photos of events that were taken by other photographers, you want to tag the artist. If an artist made a flyer for you, you want to tag them. If you want your partners to share your flyers or your art or whatever you want to share, you could tag partners as well. And if there's a call to action that's targeting a specific decision maker, you can also tag them if they have an Instagram. And so another note, traditional videos that are posted to the feed need to be a minute long, and that's known as a traditional video. If you want a longer video to build more engagement with your list, you can use IGTV instead. But one note is that the traditional videos that are 1 minute long tend to get more views. Another thing is to just have fun with Instagram. You can use emojis, and it's okay to be more casual in the captions and in the stories as well, which I'll get into soon. It's very Instagram is very image heavy, so you want to make sure you're being accessible to everyone on Instagram and provide alt text for all of your images. And then finally, y'all just covered hashtags, but that's a way that you could increase engagement on Instagram as well. Then the next slide. Okay, next thing is stories. And so this is another way that you could engage people on Instagram. So stories only last 24 hours. And they show up on a different part of Instagram. I don't know, Bisma, if you'll be covering this a little bit more technically, how it works. Yes. Okay. So y'all will learn more about where to find the stories, but basically it lasts only 24 hours, and you can share a lot more on your stories. I forgot to mention this, but on the main feed, you don't want to post more than 3 posts a day on average. That's what we do. Because you don't want to bury your own posts, so we try to space them out throughout the day and no more than 3. And we're not usually posting every single day, but we try to post at least weekly. And yeah, those are our guidelines for posting on the main story or on the main feed. For the story, you can share a lot more. And so this is what we use to boost our own posts. So we often share from our own main feed to our story. We also boost a lot of our partners' posts on our story because maybe we don't have room in our main feed to boost our partner's work, but we can do that, a lot more of that on our story. And finally, since we have a larger account, we use our stories to share. And so you can see a screenshot on the right-hand side. There's an actionnetwork.org link at the bottom for people to send letters or a call to action. And then some tips for stories. Like I said, you can post a lot more on your stories than on your main feed. You should also have fun on your stories. There's a lot of different things you can do. You can add GIFs, which in this case, for example, the rescheduled that you see in this image, some of those like little things are just like stickers that kind of are animated. And so that's what a GIF is in this case. So yeah, I also added little arrows, and those arrows are also animated. And yeah, you can add text and links. And then if it's an original post, you can change like the background color and stuff. But if you're sharing a post from your feed, it kind of just takes the color from the graphic that you see. That's my understanding. And then
That's better on prayer. Better on prayer.
was there a question? Maybe not. Another thing, we don't always have capacity to do this, but we used to have a volunteer who would post a lot, like screenshots from like Zoom events, and just do like little live updates about our events. And people really like that and engage with that. So if you have the capacity or have a volunteer who's down to do that for y'all, I recommend it. And there's a screenshot, another screenshot on the right-hand side where you could see they had taken a picture of a Zoom on their computer and then put a little caption describing what was going on in the conversation. Another way we use the stories is to remind people about an upcoming event. And then finally, you can also add, they disappear in 24 hours, but you can add old stories to your highlight section. And I don't know, Bisma, if you'll be covering that later, the highlight section. Yes, cool. So y'all will learn more about that later. Next slide, please. Other ways we use Instagram is we do some live streaming sometimes. So we don't have a lot of capacity to do this, but this is a favorite influencer tactic because it works. Whenever people go live on Instagram, it helps build engagement because people get notified that, the person that they're following or the organization they're following is on live. And it also gets prioritized in the stories feed. And so you'll learn more where to find that. We typically live stream more on Facebook because we only have capacity to do one or the other a lot of the times. But it's ideal maybe to have multiple people at your event live streaming on the different channels. And then IGTV, I mentioned this earlier. This is a way that you can post longer documentary style videos on your page to deepen engagement. You can also save your live streams to IGTV once you're done with the live stream. And then one just note about DMs. People can respond to your stories in a DM. It might just reach out to you for a number of reasons. So just making a note to keep track of that if you're like running an organizational account. Right, DM means direct messages. And so, we don't always have capacity to answer every single person, but it's a good thing to do to build relationships with other organizations and community members. But you can also direct them to send an email to you instead if you don't have capacity to answer all of your DMs or direct messages. And then finally, another way we use Instagram is by running digital ads. So in the latest Oakland City Council budget cycle, we were doing a big push to defund OPD. And so we did some digital ads to try to saturate the Instagram platform of people, at least for people who are likely to engage with us. And so, yeah, if you want to make sure your followers or potential followers see something, you might want to consider running digital ads. And this is, I think, done through the Facebook business portal. And that's a little bit more advanced, like I mentioned in the last class, but just so y'all know. And then I do have a video that I wanted to show really quick of an example of a digital ad that we ran before, and it's linked in the next slide. And then this is pretty much it for today. Yeah, sorry, it's very fast. And this ad, sorry for the quick, the very fast slideshow there. With Instagram, you kind of have to keep the video at a certain length. And so we were really trying to fit a lot in a short amount of time. But it does play over and over again on Instagram. So people are able to like re-watch it if they couldn't follow the first time. And then for ads, it typically links to something like on the ad. So that's the only time you'll see something on your feed where you can actually click on something, I think. Unless like, I think there's also new capabilities coming where like organizations can add donate options on there. But yeah, we were advertising a donate option for these ads just to pay for the ads that we had placed. But yeah, we didn't get anything more than that, just so y'all know. And that's all I have today. I'm happy to take any questions if we have time.
Yay, thank you so much. Can we please give a round of applause to Luz for that beautiful presentation on APTP's Instagram?
Yes, bravo, thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? I know it's our Twitter week, but we're gonna invite questions about APTP's Twitter and how they use it as well.
I have a question. And I barely can use Facebook. This is more complicated for me. I don't know if one day I'll do it, but I am really amazed because my grandson, that is autistic, had like 8,000 followers, and her mom closed the account. And he's very naive, only, I'm sorry, only butterflies, animals, stuff like that. And he's only 14. So she closed the account, my daughter-in-law. She didn't like that. But he had a lot of followers. Since he started at 12 or 13, now he's going to be 15 in January. So that is, when you were speaking about numbers, about 25,000 or more, probably was a high number, right? He was so unhappy. And I was a little upset with my daughter-in-law, but now I understand why. Probably was not appropriate for him to have an Instagram account, right? Thank you. It's going to be difficult for me. Thank you. Thank you very much, Luz. That was very clear and very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, so for like personal accounts, it might be a little different what the content will be. You can share pretty pictures and more things like that. Just like the nature of our work doesn't really give us that a lot of times.
Tomasita, I see your hand.
Do you know
Ooh.
which,
I'm
you
gonna
know,
Tomasita,
by,
and then
okay.
have you go, Dorothy. Okay, is that all right? Okay, perfect. So Tomasita and then Dorothy.
What is the difference between Twitter and Instagram?
Sorry, I didn't know that this week was Twitter. Maybe got misinformation. I don't know. But Twitter is, I don't know, maybe Bisma has a better answer for this, but I think Twitter for us is like, I don't know. I think there's like more of the viral aspect on Twitter where like it's more of a conversational app versus a image heavy app. And there's a lot of like, yeah, I don't know. It's easy to go viral for people. I don't know. Maybe not for us, but if someone is getting a lot of engagement, it'll show up on a lot of people's feeds, even if you're not following them. And then another thing is there's a lot more reporters and journalists on Twitter. And so, and then I think politicians also care a lot about Twitter. And so you really want to post on there to get the attention of decision makers and journalists. But Instagram, maybe it's more for engaging your followers and to make sure that, you know, they know how to take action with you.
Thank you for that, Lucia. That's kind of my understanding of the difference too. On Twitter, hashtags are more important for popular education and for viral content. And so many times on Twitter, you're actually engaging with people who you don't really follow or who follow close accounts to you that you're hearing conversations about. So it's a lot more anonymity on Twitter than there is on Instagram. And Instagram is, like Lou said, much more image heavy. So your success on Instagram depends on how well you're able to design graphics or make good images or things like that that are aesthetically pleasing for people to look at and to click and engage with too. So it's a slightly different sort of social media platform where one is supposed to be more about like almost like a community forum is what I would equate Twitter to, versus like a photo album is closer to what Instagram does. And Dorothy, your question?
That answered part of my question, and I was wondering if she knew which media by certain culture or certain, you know, which one would be better, you know, and she did answer part of that, you know, because, you know, like Twitter, President Trump was just on that, you know, and if I just wanted to do something ordinary, which one would be best probably. You know, maybe Facebook or YouTube, or if I want to reach a group of children, for instance, where would I, you know, go? Which one of the medias, if she knew that, I don't know.
I mean, I think these are just my assumptions, but I think for Instagram, the biggest age range is 25 to 34.
Okay.
And
I
then
don't
that's
see.
followed closely by 18 to 24.
Don't
And
see.
then Facebook, I think it has a reputation of
Yes.
being older people.
Are you busy?
But I
A
think
reputation of being what?
more older people, like
Oh, is that right? Okay.
for middle-aged folks.
Okay.
And then I think Twitter, I'm not really sure there what the but yeah, I've only been there not too long, but for me it's a lot more stressful because any little thing you post, if your Twitter is public, can like accidentally like get a lot of attention, maybe more than you wanted it to get.
Okay.
Thank you for that question, Dorothy, and for that answer, Luz. And I wanted to see if there's any other questions that are coming out about either Instagram or Twitter. Tomasita, I see your hands up again.
I missed the last thing you said. I tried to copy it down and then I forgot it before I had a chance to write it, as to what was the difference. The last thing you said about the difference between Instagram and Twitter. Do you remember?
Me? That I said? Oh, I said that Instagram is more like a photo album, but Twitter is more like a community forum.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I just looked it up for Twitter. The age distribution, the biggest group is 25 to 34-year-olds, and the second largest group is 35 to 49-year-olds. So I guess you're less likely to see the more younger folks or senior folks on Twitter. So definitely different age groups for all for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Dorothy, I believe the answer to your question would be YouTube, because I think the answer to your question would be YouTube, because YouTube always asks, do you want to create, can children watch it? They'll ask you, is this for children? They specify, is this for children? Can children watch it? So I think it'd probably be YouTube.
Thank you, Dharma. That was really helpful. Yeah, YouTube has a designation to allow you to search only through parental controls. So if you were a kid, you can get onto YouTube, like child-friendly YouTube videos.
But people who create content can create for children.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for all of your experience joining us together in the room. It's very nice. Are there any other questions before we continue with the presentation? Ellen?
Is it so if I'm on Instagram and my grandson picks up my phone, there's no way I can put a filter on there to use. I mean, of course, he always wants your phone, right? But there's only filters like that on YouTube. Is that correct? Does that make sense? My question makes sense.
Can you restate your question?
I'm sorry. Is it possible to put parental controls on an Instagram account, for example?
So I don't know if there's an ability to actually put parental controls, but I do know that on the back end of all the social media accounts like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, you can block certain key phrases and words that you want an account to avoid. For instance, people do that with trigger words. So if there's a specific trigger word that they don't want to appear on their feed, you can specifically censor your content that way. But in terms of parental controls, from my understanding, YouTube is the only social media platform that does parental controls.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Awesome. Well, let's give another round for Luz for making it here with us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Amazing. And so not if you did get a little confused by some of the words that Luz was using to describe the different setup for Instagram, don't worry. We're going to cover all of it next week. Next week is our Instagram week. This week we'll start to cover Twitter, and you'll start to notice as we continue to learn about the different social media apps, there's a lot of overlap in the terms that we use and how we talk about certain features like comments and likes and retweets and stuff. So there are a lot of overlapping similarities with distinct differences in why people use certain ones over others. And so I want you to treat our journey through learning these social media platforms as a conversation. No one really has a manual that explains it all to you from step one to step two, but rather we're trying to make sense together as a community why you would use one over the other. All right, and so with that, before we start to move on, I'm going to invite everybody to take a 5-minute bio break before we jump back into the Twitter world. So please come back at 4:20, so the 20 of the hour. Thank you, everybody. All right, gonna give another minute for folks. All right, I am going to start sharing my screen again. All right. We were supposed to have a community presentation with the Coalition on Homelessness, but unfortunately, our presenter Tyler is out sick today. So maybe she'll be able to join us on Wednesday, but just wanted to hold space for that. So now we're going to start by talking about certain terms on Twitter. And so I don't want you to freak out if this is the first time you're hearing these terms, and understand that it will take a lot of practice of understanding and locating where these terms live in Twitter. So first, we're going to start with a tweet. A tweet is any text that is up to 280 characters. A tweet is a post that you share with all of your followers on Twitter. So a tweet can include things like hashtags, images, image descriptions, comments, questions, reactions of any sort. All of those can go into a tweet. A retweet is when you share a tweet posted by another person or account, and this shows up on your own Twitter profile. When you retweet, you can either share the tweet directly, which is just called a retweet, or you could quote tweet. Quote tweet means that you're taking the conversation that someone else is having, so their message, and you're commenting on it with it. So not only are they seeing the original message that a person shared, they're seeing your thoughts attached to it, or your written statements attached to it. That's a quote tweet. So again, a quote tweet is when you add a comment as an introduction to someone else's tweet on Twitter. So it's a lot of different words, and I'm saying it quite a few times, but there's a tweet, which is your post on Twitter. Retweet is sharing someone else's post, and then quote tweet is doing both. So including your own thoughts with someone else's.
Okay, it does. What is it?
Sorry for that, Sorry, I think it's Constance French. Your audio wasn't muted. And so I was going through and trying to click the audio off. But yeah, so those are the first three terms that I'm.
Hold on one second.
Let's see.
Oh, shoot, what happened?
Okay, I just muted Constance, so hopefully we won't have any feedback. Okay, so some more terms. Trending topic, or for short, TT. Trending topic refers to topics that receive more comments and attention than others during a particular set of time. So a trending topic might be something that is trending for a few days, hours, or even weeks. So it really depends on the relevancy of what you're sharing that will feed into the trending topic. So the more people that are talking about it, the longer it's going to be around. So this trending topic will be accessible through the Explorer page. And I'll show you where all of these live on the Twitter interface. Twitter verified account. So a Twitter account is verified when you see a blue badge next to a Twitter name. And this indicates that the account, the business or the person is authentic. That means that they have received checks from Twitter on professionalism, on their authenticity on Twitter. So that is what makes it a verified account. Therefore, when politicians use it, you should check to make sure that they have a blue check next to them to make sure you're talking to the real person and not like a fan page or someone who's just an admirer, but an actual person. And another colloquial term that I will introduce with you is called subtweeting. So a subtweet is a form of calling in, usually to a practice of targeting politicians, corporations, or individuals who are causing harm to the community through a tweet. And this is called a subtweet. That it's just it's an informal term used to call out somebody on Twitter, is you subtweet them. Are there any questions about the terms I've introduced?
I got calling in. I didn't get what came after that.
So the subtweet is the form of calling in your community members. That's what a subtweet means. There's not an actual button or anything like that on Twitter that lets you subtweet. It's just a term referred to as I am targeting this person's handle to tell them something they're doing wrong. And so it's a form of calling people in. That's what subtweeting is.
Tengo una pregunta.
I have a question, Flor. Yes, go ahead, Flor. Espéreme, Florcita, un segundo que está.
What's your question, Flor?
Mamacita, isn't it a form of what they call calling somebody out?
Yeah.
Calling out, you're telling them, accusing them of you're calling out what they're doing.
Yeah. And I think Flor was trying to speak actually. So Flor,
right. Flor is trying to talk something. Yeah. Siga, Flor.
Sería fácil con un ejemplo.
Wouldn't be easier to explain through an example, Bisma?
Yes, thank you. So after I run through these terms, I'm going to show you on the Twitter account where to find them.
So a subtweet, if someone that did something, the company has killed you, you can go ahead and just blast them.
Yeah, basically.
No entendí si estaba hablando con nosotros o no. Es una manera, perdón.
Or your people, inform people of what they've done to you.
Yeah, so it has a range of definitions. It can be subtly telling someone they're doing something wrong, or it could be an explicit tag. But I will take Floor's suggestion of showing you guys what this would look like on Twitter. So let's see.
Bueno,
Okay, first I'm going to actually run through how to create an account so that I can then show you what the software looks like. But let me enter full screen. So to create a Twitter account very quickly, all you need is to log in either through the website or the smartphone Twitter app. All you need is an email, and you need to create a username, which on Twitter is called a handle. And the way a handle is referenced in Twitter is with the ampersand or the @ sign with the name of the user. So that is the way usernames are formed on Twitter. On Twitter, it's also very helpful if you can add a photo of yourself to help friends identify your account. Just like Facebook, if you include some personal information, your friends will be able to find you. So on Twitter, you can follow people, you can follow specific topics you're interested in, or you could follow hashtags. You could the people you could follow could literally be friends, celebrities, or organizations. And so we'll go through how to tweet, to retweet, or comment, and the different pages that are on Twitter in a moment. So I'm going to stop my screen share and actually go to Twitter to show you some of these features. So currently I am logged into the Senior and Disability Action Twitter page. So here you see the side profile that has all of these different options. So you have home, explore. This is where you would see your trending topics. So different things that people are talking about on Twitter. That is what's called the trending topic. It is determined by hashtags that people are using. So that is where these numbers come from, how they're able to quantify how many tweets go behind it. So for example, trending in political figures, you see Native American and you see 11.9K tweets. So when I click on this, it shows me the top tweets. And as I scroll, it shows me more that people are making based on these keywords in the trending topic. So Native American being the trending topic. So that's through the Explorer page. Your homepage is where you will see the people that you are following post their tweets. So here, as I scroll down, it's going to be on time of when they posted. So I just recently scheduled this post to go out to thank our community presenters that came with us. Notifications are where you can see where people engage with your post. So you see that the Housing Rights Committee of San Francisco let you tweet. And you can check to see all the different people that have followed you through your notifications. Messages is where people will directly message you on Twitter with their Twitter account. Bookmarks. So you can actually save tweets that you see on your profile. And if you want to go visit them at another time, you can bookmark it. Lists, I won't get into too much because it's one of the newer features on Twitter. And to be honest, I don't have much experience with it. But to give you a small understanding of it, lists are basically, you can group people and trending topics and hashtags together to basically allow yourself to see a very curated dialogue or community forum on your Explorer page. So all of this is to basically tinker with the algorithm on your main page so that you see only what you want to see. So if I wanted, I can go into the lists and have an entire nature section where I only put in people who care, follow about nature. And then that will influence my home feed so that I only see nature posts. So that's a little bit of the function of the lists, but it's one that I wouldn't worry too much about. profile is where you'll be able to see your past posts. So in the tweet section, you can see the tweets that we have made as part of SDA, and this would be available to anyone searching for SDA. And so it is also in order of time. And you'll see at the top, there's buttons to edit your profile where you can edit the pictures. You'll see that we actually do have a link tree in our bio, and you'll see that it's also on our Instagram. So a little bit to the presentation that Luz gave, and we'll talk a little bit more about what link trees are. You can pick different parts in your profile. So you can look at replies that people made specifically to your tweets. You can look at media, so graphics that you have shared, or you could see posts that you've liked. So any post you've liked will come up in the liked section. But back to the home page. Let's say that I want to interact with this tweet that just came up. I could like it. I can tweet it, retweet it. When I click it, it gives me the option of quote tweeting, which I told you, which is I could share this person's thoughts and add my own to my followers here. And then click the tweet button and it would go to everybody else. You can add images, you can add a GIF, the short video clips, you can add a poll, you can add reactions or emojis. You can also schedule it for a later time.
If you clicked on GIF, would it show you a choice?
Mm-hmm. You can search for anything.
Hey, Greg.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that some of the whatever ground chicken was spoiled?
What?
Ground chicken, they had a recall. Yeah, this was in about the last 5 days. So if you look on the internet, I'll tell you which one.
All right. And so those are the different ways you can engage.
Well,
you can also click for
I don't know which.
Oh, Constance, I'm
whatever.
going to mute you.
Oh no,
so that we can hear everybody. But yeah, so you can also click on the 3 dots on the corner of a tweet and pick a bunch of different things. So you can say you're not interested in this if you didn't like the content. You can unfollow the person. You can add or remove them from a list, like I had told you about in the list section here, to if you want to curate your feed in a very particular way. You can mute the follower, you can block the follower, you can embed the tweet. I don't actually know what embed does, but I guess it's like a fancy internet term, but I'm not actually gonna get into it. But yeah, so those are the different ways you can engage with one. And you can make your own tweet by simply clicking on either the blue button that says tweet to open up the what's happening screen, or you could simply go to the top and write what's happening. Just like Facebook, you can alter who sees it. So you can do it to everybody on Twitter. You can do it only to the people you follow, or only to the people you mention. So only the people you tag in the tweet that will see it. So those are the different ways to engage on Twitter on your profile page. Are there any questions that are coming up for folks?
How do you get to the profile page?
So all I would do is go down to the profile icon in the sidebar right here. And if I click on that, it takes me straight to my profile page.
Okay, so the sidebar appears no matter what page you're on?
Yes, on a browser, it's always going to be on there. The app will look a little different on your phone, but you will still be able to navigate to the sidebar.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other questions?
How do you tag someone on Twitter?
The same way that you tag someone on Facebook.
I don't know how to
remember.
How do you tag someone?
Does anyone remember in our class how you tag someone on Facebook?
No.
The number sign, the crosshatches, two lines each direction, and then the person's name.
So yeah, that's exactly how you do it. You put the @ sign, and then you type the person's name. So who
Oh,
do we?
the at sign. That's not the sign I said.
Oh,
I
I
the wrong
misheard.
sign.
Well, I heard the right answer somewhere. But it's the at sign and you just put the person's name. So who should we tag? We can tag APTP, the Anti-Police Terror Project.
What's the app sign?
It's the designation given to the number 2, the at sign. It's also in your email. It's like the A with the circle around it.
Oh,
But when you're gonna tag someone, where do you tag them? Like if you're gonna post a picture, then where do you put this A with their name?
You can put it directly in the tweet. So I'll give you an example. So discard. This is a post I just made for our class, and I tagged Anti-Police Terror Project and Coalition on Homelessness. And it was a big thank you. And you see that it's blue where it's hyperlinked because I tagged an account. So I tagged APTP and I tagged the Coalition on Homelessness for supporting our social media one-on-one course. And the reason I did this was so that people who are following Anti-Police Terror Project and Coalition on Homelessness will be able to see this course we're offering and potentially enroll in future offerings. So it's just a way to get our information, not just to our followers that are part of Senior Disability Action, but to hit the lists of Anti-Police Terror Project, which has 18.9K followers, and Coalition on Homelessness, which has 11.1K followers. And it's just to increase people's view of our tweet by tagging them.
so if you tag them, then it means that everybody they are in touch with will see your message?
Yes.
So people can still join the class?
They can still join the class, and they can also contact me if they want to know when our next class is offered, because we're going to try to offer this class every season.
Okay.
Every what?
Every season, so 4 times a year.
Okay.
So theoretically, they would be able to hear what we're saying right now.
Yeah, later.
Okay, so what are you going to be doing in between?
Prepping for the next class, finding more presenters, and asking if some of you would like to lead with me in the course and be guinea pigs to my project of social media. So, yeah.
Okay, so you'll be there to answer our questions. At 2:30, you said 2:30 what?
Yes, 2:30 on Wednesdays, and Mondays I usually do log on as well.
2:30 Wednesdays.
There
Okay,
are
that's just before our class.
So those are the office hours. So if you have specific questions, I can answer that during that time. But I'm also trying to, so everything that I'm offering in this class will be taught again, but with the information that I'm receiving and the feedback that I'm receiving from all of you in terms of what's useful. So there are still a few more slides that I have to cover, and I will see if it feels relevant to everybody here. But I was going to go through how to change language settings on Twitter and a few navigation points. So so these slides will be very helpful in that way. And so I'm going to restart sharing my screen. So now I'm going to talk about how to change the language settings on Twitter. And this is especially—
Can you hear me before you do that real quick?
Yes.
Can you hear me? You can hear me?
I can hear
Okay.
you.
I heard you, but I got my screen messed up. Okay.
Oh,
I'm on mute now. Okay.
Okay,
Thank
so thank you. Awesome. So changing the language settings on Twitter will allow you to reach a multilingual audience on Facebook, or on Twitter, my bad. So for instance, on my Twitter, I have English, Spanish, and Urdu and Hindi. So those are 2 other languages that I speak. And so by changing my language settings to have all of those languages, I can see it in different languages and different parts of the world. And so in order to change your language setting, you'll have to click on the more icon that's going to be in the sidebar of your profile. You're going to select the settings and privacy from the drop-down menu. You'll click on accessibility, display, and languages tab. And from languages, you will click under display languages and click and choose your preferred language for headlines. You'll have to remember to press save. You may also be prompted to enter your password for your Twitter account as well. And so now I'm going to go back to Twitter to show you how to access the language settings. So once again, you'll go to the sidebar. You'll press on more. You'll press on settings and privacy. After clicking on settings and privacy, you will go to accessibility, display, and languages. Click on languages and click on the display language, which is default to English, but you can change it to Spanish if it feels comfortable. And you can add additional languages that you speak. This is on the SDA account, so it doesn't look like this on my Twitter, but because we share this account, it's in English and for Spanish as well. But that is how you navigate to the language settings. And so again, just to recap, where the red square is highlighted, this is your homepage. Your homepage is where you see the tweets from your followers or accounts you're following, hashtags you're following, or trending topics. The most important pieces to remember for your Twitter account is the Explore handle, where you see your trending topic, and the profile page, which allows you to navigate to your own profile on Twitter. Are there any questions that are coming up with the language or with the different features on Twitter? All right.
I have a question, Bisma. This is Guadalupe. Yeah, Bisma? Yeah. Is it possible to have a bilingual one, or you have to choose one or the other one? Or the option is really for your followers and they can choose to see what you are posting, or you are trending or tweeting in English or Spanish or another language? How is this really working?
So yeah, so I would encourage you to use both languages on all of them so that you increase the range of tweets you see, so both in English and Spanish. But the one thing you'll have to choose one language on is the headlines, if you want your Twitter headlines to be in English or Spanish. And that's a choice you can make, but it won't affect your followers. It won't affect anything. It's just a preference.
But they can choose, right? They can choose how they see my.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Of course. All right. So this is just.
How do you get your picture on Twitter?
On Twitter? I'll show you, Cora. And so this is just a lexicon for everybody. So it just recaps some of the terms that I ended up using in our conversation. So it tells you what the home page is, the difference between that and the Explorer, where the notifications are. So it just walks through all of the steps I just took on Twitter. And this is a reminder of the different ways you can engage with Twitter. So how to share, retweet, comment, or like. And these are the different features in the profile page that I just highlighted, and changing the settings on who can see your tweets. So I will go to Twitter to answer Cora's question. So let's say I want to make a profile picture on Twitter. So right now, the profile picture that Senior and Disability Action has is this logo that we have with Senior and Disability Action. But let's say I wanted to change it. Is that the question you have, Cora? Oh, you're muted.
How do you get your profile picture? Like, if I wanted my picture on my Twitter.
Okay, perfect. So, is your photo already downloaded on your computer? Yes. Okay, cool. So, this is a good practice for everybody to follow along with. But let's say that Cora didn't have her photo. She didn't know what the photo was that she wanted to. And I want a different photo for senior disability action. Maybe I want a photo of water. So I'm just gonna go to Google and I'm gonna write water. And I'm gonna go look at the images and find the picture of water I really like. I like this one. So I'm going to walk through how to save this photo to my computer in case you don't know how to do that. I'm gonna right click on this image and press Save Image As. Now it gives me a drop down of the different ways I can share. So save as, maybe I want to name it something that I'll remember, water profile photo. And it's going to save in my downloads tab. And the format is going to be in a JPEG file. That's good. That's compatible with social media. And so what you need to know is JPEG, PNG, and JPG are all compatible with social media. So a PDF will not work if you're trying to upload it on an image. Those three, so the PNG, the JPEG, and the JPG all will work. And now I will press save. And I saw the little checkbox come up at the top of my search bar, which lets me know that they downloaded my photo already. Now I'm ready. Now my photo is on my computer. Now I'm gonna go to the Senior and Disability Action profile page. And I'm gonna press Edit Profile. And here, it gives me a little icon of a camera that says Add Photo. Now, when I click on it, it automatically opened my downloads. And you can see that the first item on the top is the water profile picture. And let's say it didn't open it, I could literally just navigate to my documents and downloads where I'd saved the file first. Now I'm gonna open it. And it's gonna ask me to position the image in the way that I want to, because it's slightly bigger than the image is for the Twitter profile. So once I find a setting I like, I could zoom in more, I could zoom out, depending on how I like. Once I find something I like, I'm gonna press apply. And now you see my photos changed. It's now the water droplet icon that I had. And then all I have to do in order to save this is press save, and it'll change my profile. I'm gonna exit because I don't actually want to change the profile picture. But does that make sense, Cora? Perfect. Does anyone have questions about the process?
What is that on your Facebook page, or where is that?
This is on my Twitter, but the same process applies for Facebook as well. Going to your profile, editing profile, and uploading an image. You just have to remember where you saved your image. You have to slow down and read on the screen, where are you saving your file? Is it in your downloads? Is it on your desktop? And once you're able to find it, that's how you'll upload it.
Got it.
Yeah. There are still a few more slides, but I'll probably just cover them on Wednesday. We're gonna go over how to create alt text, how to create Twitter storms, and other sorts of applications of Twitter. But we have about 7 minutes. So I think I'll do a brief presentation on the difference between a public and a private Twitter account. I understand if this is information overload, but I just want to make sure you have as much information about it as possible. So when it comes to Twitter, you can either have a private or a public account. When you first sign up for Twitter initially, you are public by default, meaning anybody can view and interact with your tweets. If you choose to protect your tweets, meaning if you go private, that means that you'll receive a request for when new people want to follow you, which you'll be allowed to either accept or deny. However, accounts that began following you before you choose to protect your account will still be able to view your content unless you choose to block them. Another note is, if you are private, followers will be unable to retweet or quote tweet your account. So do you remember that feature that we talked about with me tagging Anti-Police Terror Project and Coalition on Homelessness? If I was tweeting from a private account, people would not be able to see my message beyond my followers if I'm private. Meaning I have limited the vacuum on social media to only be the people I'm following. So no one else will be able to see it. Even if it's a trending hashtag, if I'm private, no one except my followers will be able to see my account. So these slides now walk through how to make your account private if that's something you want to do. So again, you're going to click on the 3 dots that say more. You're going to click on settings and privacy. You're going to go to audience and tagging this time. And you're going to press the button that says protect your tweets. This will allow you to go private. And so I'll also give you an example. I chose to go private on my Twitter when I chose to apply to work. And that's because I didn't want employers to try and search for my account to see what I was saying or my views and use that as bias during the hiring process. So I chose to protect my account at that time. I'm now public because I've been hired and all of these things, but that might be one reason that someone decides to go private for a little while. So you can choose when you want to be public and when you want to be private. Are there any questions?
So you might want to go private on just one particular tweet?
Not necessarily on a tweet, but for a specific point of time, like a time period. Like, let's say I'm choosing to go job searching and I'm doing interviews. For those 3 months or so, I might choose to go private so that people can't search what I'm saying.
This is Maureen. But you said, but there will be, before you went private though, all the other accounts on there, you'd have to go through and block them all, right?
Theoretically, but assuming that they're people that are my friends already and who I trust, then there might not be the issue of going private versus public. But you are right. It's not that people, it's just that people in the future past your followers will not be able to see your tweets. So it's putting like a soft gate on new people from entering.
So if you were on Twitter and you were private or not private, and you responded to political tweets, would that organization always be part of your Twitter then? I mean, even if you, like, let's say you responded to something in the Democratic Party or something, and then would they always be part of your tweet, or can you get rid of them?
No, so they'll only see the tagged tweet that they're part of, but they won't be able to see the rest of your account.
Okay.
So it just depends on who you're allowing to let you follow your account. So if I tweet out to an organization, they still can't see the rest of my tweets if I'm protected. They'll only see that one message where I asked for them to look at it or I tagged them.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Are there any other questions that are coming up?
Yeah,
Good.
I have a question on the same kind of issue, maybe.
Who was that? Sorry.
So if I made a comment one time at work, in the lunchroom about testing being biased, and I was fired. So if I made that comment on Twitter regularly, just somebody said something about a test, and so now I'm applying for work, and I go private. If someone else has that statement, or that, can they retweet it to say this new employer or someone else?
So if you've gone private, no one can retweet or quote tweet your account. However, I would be wary that someone might be able to screenshot it and let it live outside of Twitter. So like take a picture of your account and say that these are words you've said. So in my opinion, the best thing to do is to make sure you delete the account or the tweet itself. Make sure that there are people that you trust and that follow you, and then go about making sure that you don't say anything of that sort in the future. So yeah, there might be, like, this is what the issue is with the internet, is that even if you delete an account, people might take pictures of it. And that's where you'll have to be careful on then people bringing those images back to the surface and using that against you. But I'd say that if you trust the people you were following and did take that account down or that post down, and you made your account private during your job search, it shouldn't come up again.
Okay, that's the problem that older people like me have with this stuff, in terms of commenting or making your comments known. And then anyone can access it and use it. You know what I mean? It's like, I have opinions. And I've lived long enough to know certain things that are not comfortable in the major power society. So it's like, okay, you don't need to be on any of this then, is the feeling I'm getting. But in terms of communicating, like someone else said about communicating with children, you need to figure it out. So
yeah, I think it's difficult because with social media, you want to find a community of people you trust that won't necessarily try to rip you apart in that sort of way that you're explaining. And it is a really tricky balance of finding the right accounts. And so we'll actually go through next week a little bit more about fake news, fake interactions, and how to try and find the right community organizations to follow as part of our understanding of how information travels together. So yeah, I'd say hopefully you'll stick around until then to kind of understand the different ways people use social media. But I do hear you that sometimes social media can be a very bully heavy or taking down space that doesn't actually support community growth in the ways that I use social media, for instance. But
okay, thank you.
Of course. All right, well, I'm gonna skip ahead and we'll just cover these slides next time. And I wanted to stop to see if there were any announcements that folks wanted to share.
Okay, I'd like to share.
Go for it.
I got started. Again, the housing department took me off senior wait list. Wait, WAIT list. And I had to maneuver because you can't really talk to them, period. They said that my posting was not received, through their application process, renewal application. And this is one reason why I'm on this class, because I think that they should have senior alternatives if you're not, if it takes you a while to figure out their computer process. And so I had to go through the board of supervisors to get them to put me back on the list, because I had complied with their process. It took me a while, period. And number one, I was not using my email anyway. So I still want to go through the process of helping seniors be able to maneuver, since they're saying everything has to be done through the internet, and it takes weeks to reach them by phone, etc. So anyway, the good news was that they put me back on the list in my order, which I was at the top of the list. So that was good news, but I'm still fighting to make sure that seniors can access the process. So good news.
Thank you for sharing, Constance. It's a pleasure to have you in the course, and I'd love to see if we can find a home for you in Senior and Disability Action and joining our different causes. And we'll have a little bit of time to talk more about our mission and why we even come together like this. So thank you for being here and for sharing your story.
Thank you.
And there's no tasks for today. I'll share the new tasks with you on Wednesday. So this might be a good time to catch up on a little bit of the Facebook stuff or the digital safety stuff. But I'll see everybody on Wednesday. I will be having office hours at 2:30 if you do want to join a little before to answer your questions or work on homework together. All right. Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a good Monday.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Bye.
Thank you.